Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Devos with Pastor Danny, and we are continuing to talk about how to be loving towards our neighbors. And we're using Romans 14 to do that, a number of different verses, and I'll start at Romans 14:1 up until verse 4. As for the one who is weak in faith, welcome him, but not to quarrel over opinions. One person believes he may eat anything, while the weak person eats only vegetables. Let not the one who eats despise the one who abstains, and let not the one who abstains pass judgment on the one who eats, for God has welcomed him. Okay, so in loving our neighbors, judgment is a thing that we shouldn't go to, yet often we do. Martin Luther says this. In chapter 14, the Apostle Paul teaches, consciences weak in faith are to be led gently, spared so that we do not use our Christian freedom for doing harm, but for the assistance of the weak. And for when that is not done, there's discord and contempt for the gospel. And the gospel is the most important thing, Luther says. And that's really why we love those who maybe have a different opinions or ways of doing things than what we do. What Luther's simply saying is, hey, the most important thing here is to help people know the gospel. And if we're saying or doing things that distract ourselves or others from the gospel, from sharing it, or for them from hearing it, then that's a problem. The other thing in verse 7, it says, none of us lives to himself, and none of us dies to himself. For if we live to the Lord, and if we die to the Lord. And so no matter what is going on in our lives, these verses go on to say that nothing can separate us from Jesus. So having quarrels over opinions, over things that are not really stated one way or the other in the Bible, really should not separate us from Jesus. So having an argument or disagreement with somebody over something that in the grand scheme of things of life doesn't matter, we shouldn't do, because we nothing can separate us from Jesus, and nothing should separate us from our neighbors in that same way. We should be loving towards people even if they have a different way of thinking or doing or living than we do, especially if they're not believers of Jesus. Why would you expect them to behave as a follower of Christ if they're not a follower of Christ? Don't judge them on that. Meet them where they're at. Ask questions. Hear their story. Hear why they do what they do. Don't judge them on it. And just see if you can understand it a little bit more. Verse 13, therefore, let us not pass judgment on one another any longer, but rather decide never to put a stumbling block or hindrance in the way of a brother or a sister here too. The reality is, followers of Jesus should not cause others to stumble in their faith. And we should be careful to exercise patience with those who think differently or act differently, especially if they're weak in faith. If they're not in the same maturity level as you, that's okay. We're all in different spots as we mature. Some people are here that you're dealing with, and some people are more mature than you, and we're just to love people with the hope and joy of Jesus, sharing that with them, encouraging them in that as good neighbors, as brothers and sisters in Christ. Don't major in the minors. Don't be distracted from Jesus because of people saying things differently than you would or living in a different way. Instead, share the hope and joy of Christ, no matter what. No matter who you're encountering, no matter if they think the same or they act the same or they vote the same as you, whatever the case may be patient, be caring, be compassionate and empathetic, as Jesus calls us to through the words of the Apostle Paul. So I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you here soon.